The name's Argylle. Agent Argylle. Oh, I can't see as much. Argylle is a new movie directed by Matthew Vaughn, the visionary director who gave us the Kingsman movies, and it stars Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, Henry Cavill, actually just a lot of other people, so I don't want to name them all. This movie is about a spy author whose books start to really mimic like stuff that's happening in real world, and this is very suspicious to some people, especially to Bryan Cranston, who plays a villain in this movie. He wants to know, how is this lady's books so on the nose? And it also grabs the attention of Sam Rockwell, who plays a spy in this movie. This movie has a lot of really cool things going on for it, a very stacked cast, and some very interesting action scenes. So let's dive in. I'm going to talk about the things that worked really well first, and that, for one, is Sam Rockwell. This guy is a very talented actor. I've been a fan of him for a while. He's just constantly surprising me with his performances. I feel like Hollywood is really just not giving this guy the true respect he deserves, and just the audience probably too. This guy should be leading way more stories, way more movies. Do you ever see the movie Moon? If you haven't seen the movie Moon, he is fantastic in that movie. He's just a stellar actor. He was a great actor in The Green Mile, where he played a jackass. He's just a fantastic actor. I'm a fan of his range. He can do comedy, he can do action, and he really carried this movie for me. He was the reason that I was so excited to watch this movie. Bryce Dallas Howard is the other lead in this movie, and she's pretty good. I can't ever say that I've ever been a huge fan of her. There's just something about her that just doesn't really resonate with me as well as like other actresses out there. She's okay. She does a good job for this movie. She was decent in like things like Black Mirror. She was okay in the Jurassic World movies. But overall, I don't think this is like an Academy Award winning actress. But she is actually well placed for this kind of a movie, because this movie is not really an Academy Award movie. This is a movie that's meant to just have you go in there and just click off on your brain and just enjoy this movie for its over-the-top nature that it is. And I think Bryce Dallas Howard does suit that purpose pretty well. I'm just saying, not a huge fan. Bryan Cranston is in this movie, and he's definitely having a good time playing this villain. He is a little bit like a Bond villain, maybe, but maybe not as sophisticated. He kept reminding me, obviously, I kept thinking of Breaking Bad, but he's not really like Walt in this movie either. He's his own thing. He was having a good time, and he was definitely a welcome addition to this movie. I will say this movie has a stacked cast, and, you know, that definitely is one of the biggest selling points of this movie. And anytime anyone sees Bryan Cranston in something, you have to at least be a little bit interested, because this guy piques my interest for sure. Does he pique your interest? Bryan Cranston, great actor. Pretty good in this movie. In the commercials, we see Dua Lipa and Henry Cavill having a really cool scene, and that scene is towards the beginning of this movie. She's not in this movie very much, but I thought, you know, for someone who's a singer and not necessarily an actress, I thought she did pretty well in this movie. And Henry Cavill, again, he's playing the story version of the character that Bryce Dallas Howard's character is writing about. So he is the personification of the visual of that spy, and he does a pretty good job. I was kind of curious like how much he would be in the movie, because the movie is taking place in the real world, not in this spy novel. But the way they intercut him into the movie, it definitely made sense. I thought he was really well used in terms of the way they brought him in. I think that he could have had more to do, obviously, but he did pretty well with what he was given. I think, you know, that's Henry Cavill. He was good. Matthew Vaughn's movies are known for having some pretty over-the-top crazy stuff going on, and this movie is definitely no exception. The action in this movie is bonkers, just crazy. At times, actually, I'll be honest, at times the action in this movie kind of treaded into maybe cheesy Marvel territory. I kept thinking of James Gunn when I was watching like the last third of this movie. The last third of this movie definitely had like James Gunn kind of quality, just in terms of being over the top, maybe a little bit cheesy, but still mostly entertaining and definitely keeps you interested. But you're kind of like, yeah, that kind of thing. That's what was going on for me towards the end of this movie. And I guess this is a good chance to segue into the cons I had for this movie. And the cons, I think, are definitely, I think the movie had some pacing issues. the movie drags a little bit towards the last half of this movie. Not the last half, towards the last third of this movie. It just feels a little bit too long, and the storyline gets a bit twisted, a bit messed up, pretty convoluted if I'm being honest. Spy movies are known for having some twists and turns going on, but this movie tried to take that up to 11, and it had some mixed results for me. I think it got just a little bit messy with the story towards the end, and like I said, it did drag a bit.
It's time for you to meet the real Agent Argylle.
Despite the fact that this movie does have some cons, I definitely still think this is a solid movie. I think this is pretty entertaining. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are really going to take a lot of fun out of it. You have to go in and expect, an over-the-top movie. This is not Bond. This is more like Kingsman. It actually feels a lot like Kingsman. It's not as good as the Kingsman movies, but it's definitely a very entertaining movie and just very much like a popcorn flick. This would actually be a perfect summer movie. I don't know why it came out in January, but this is a perfect summer blockbuster popcorn flick. And I think it has a lot of good performances. Matthew Vaughn delivers his usual flair of insanity, almost bordering on James Gunn level of insanity towards the end. But, overall, I think I would definitely recommend this movie. I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. And interestingly, I am going to give this movie a watch score of 1 because, like I said, it's a little bit long and it dragged a little bit for me. And so for that reason, I did check my watch. I was thinking, how much longer is this? Because it just had some pacing issues. But overall, I definitely think most people are going to find this movie to be quite entertaining. I think it's worth your time. I think you should definitely give it a try. If you thought this review was helpful and it helped sway you to watch this movie, then definitely give this video a like. And if you want to see more things like this hat and this awesome face with this beard, then you should definitely subscribe to my channel. And that is all I have for you folks. Later.